Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Good Saturday morning, week 39. Man, I'm excited today. Got a full show for you. I got a special guest joining us again for the second time. I'll bring him in a moment. You can see up on the screen here. You'll be able to follow. I'll keep this up for a little while. A lot of great topics to cover. A lot of things going on in the world of sports. NBA draft just happened, and so on and so forth. So we'll get into a number of different topics. Joining us today is a former player of mine back in 2015. He is a former two-time All-State performer in the sports of basketball and football for the famous Warren De La Salle High School in Warren, Michigan. He's ranked as a top 15 all-time athlete for Warren De La Salle. And as I said, he played for me in 2015. We remained close over the years. He was on the show, 6-7 weeks ago, did such a great job. The show is all basketball today. He loves basketball. So I want to welcome Luke Phromm to the show and to all of our listeners. Luke, thanks again, man. Good to see you, and thanks for joining us again.
Absolutely. Good to be back. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. You're going to be like a seasoned professional now. This is the second time around, so it's like shooting a jumper and you miss. I mean, you did a great job in the first time, but I'm sure you'll do even better today.
Yes, sir. Hope so.
Yes. So, before I get into what we have for the show, I just want to give a sincere thanks out to everybody out there. The YouTube subscriber base has gone up about 550% over the last 30 days. That's incredible. You all are responding. You're sharing. The show is growing. Very, very excited about that. Happy for that. I always wanted to build a show that was for the fans, that could provide information and entertainment and not have it be just about me. This is a collaborative thing, and I welcome you throughout the show, right in the comment section, which is up there. Go ahead and drop some feedback. Drop a comment. If you have a different point of view, share that. If you're watching this on a replay, thank you for watching it on a replay. If you're with us live here in a few minutes, thank you. And on the replay, thank you. If you have not subscribed yet, please do so on our YouTube channel at PB Sports Talk. All right, so thanks again, folks. Really, honestly, that means so much. This is a lifelong dream for me. So on the graphic here, you will see the first topic here to the bottom left-hand corner is injuries building from the youth level. It's being talked about a lot in sports now. Tyrese Halliburton, came up with the calf. He had the calf throughout the good part of the playoffs, and then his Achilles actually snapped. Very sad to see that. And he was the seventh with a torn Achilles this year. 7 this year, 0 last year. We're going to talk a little bit. I'm not a doctor, nor is Luke, but we're going to give our opinion. Luke's 25. I'm 53. I played and coached. He played, and he's going to talk about the unique dynamics, and I'm going to pull up a lot of data here in a few minutes. And people are saying, lower the amount of games, and it's too much on the professional athlete. Honestly, in my opinion, again, this is my opinion. I am speculating based on a lot of data, a lot of research, my opinion, my experience, talking to a lot of different people, and just studying all the numbers. And in my opinion, I don't think it is at the professional level. It's happening more at the youth level. So we'll get into details with that. The NBA Finals just finished up. Congrats to the OKC Thunder. I'm a big fan of theirs. I love what they're doing over there. We'll talk about that. Luke resides in Florida, but he's visiting in Michigan now. I am from Florida, but we're both originally from Detroit. And we'll talk about the new Detroit Piston, Chaz Lanier. How great is that we have another Lanier in the state of Michigan, in the city of Detroit. So welcome, Detroit, Chaz. The NBA, see that? I'm already thinking football. I almost said NFL. NBA draft recap and Cooper Flag going number 1 to the Mavericks. And then I think what both Luke and I agree, while I'm double his age, and I love the fact that we're doing this because with him being half of my age, some people tell me all the time I'm old-fashioned and I have no idea and, go croak somewhere. I hear all kinds of stuff, but Luke is 25, and we actually agree that we are in an entitlement era, and it's more about what are you going to give me than what am I going to earn. It's more about me and mine than it is about the team and the overall goal. So we'll dive into all of that, and I'm excited. So we'll start, Luke, here with some interesting data in terms of injuries, the prevalence of them, common types. There's a lot of information here, folks. I've pulled it from NIH, from the Mayo Clinic, WebMD, and a number of other very reliable sources. And Luke, I'm going to really lean on you here in a couple of minutes because I want you to take our listeners through and our viewers through what you experienced. I know you had a lot of injuries, but I'm going to want you to really talk about um, when you played for me. Obviously, I don't think that there was enough stretching. I don't think there was before or after practicing games. It was kind of like, let's just blow through this and then, get changed and you just go about your business. Maybe you went and played someplace else. Then as you went into high school, where there was an athletic trainer that was assigned to the team, did Delisle have one or two for say basketball?
We had two. It was one and assistant, so
Okay.
two.
And were they present during practices?
Yep.
They were at every practice.
Yeah.
And same
Well, most of the time there was a lot going on other sports, so I think two
they were
trainers
in the
had
building.
probably. Yeah, they were available. They wouldn't sit through practice, but they were there if you
Okay.
needed them.
Same for football? So out on the field?
Football, they'd be out there.
Okay. So that's important. But obviously we didn't see that at the middle school level, and we
Right.
don't see that at the AAU level. You saw that obviously at the high school level. How about at Wayne State and Madonna, the colleges you went to?
There was trainers ready all the time.
Okay. So how much? Well, first let's just talk about the first highlighted in yellow there. There's a lot of info here, folks, and you can contact me, Paul at PB Sports Talk, after the show sometime. I'll be happy to get this data over to you parents. This is really important to understand and share with your children and even friends or family. So high school athletes account for an estimated 2 million injuries, 500,000 doctor visits, and 30,000 hospitalizations each year. That's wow. That when I saw this, I mean, it, but when you actually look at it in, black and white text or in this yellow text, it kind of jumps off the page. Injury prevalence rates among adolescent athletes range from 34.1% to 65%, with sports-related injuries being the second leading cause of emergency room visits for children and adolescents. Folks, and I should have said this first. I don't want to scare anybody away. This is sports. There's risk involved. I think we all know that. Everybody on some level knows that injuries is a part of it. This is designed to create awareness. This is designed to create the knowledge of what needs to be done to help mitigate, reduce, potentially eliminate, rehab, all of those types of things. Even though we're not PhDs, we're not doctors, a lot of this is common sense and it's not always applied. So it's get you the data, get you the facts, and then let you make the decisions for yourself. And as your son or daughter potentially goes up into the high school level playing sports, potentially college or even further, they'll get some proper care. But it's always about what you can do too, because the trainer's not with you 24/7. A lot of the responsibility falls on the parent or parents and on the athlete or athletes. So continuing here, common types of injuries, and Luke will be able to attest to this. People think when the first thing they think when they hear injuries in sports, they think football, which is true. They think hockey. A lot of people don't think basketball. Basketball has, I think it's number 2 actually, and it might say in here, number 2 for most injuries that happen. It is a physical sport when played properly. I mean, this is not no knock on flag football. This is not flag, basketball. This is up and down. This is tremendous torque on ankles, on knees, tendons, joints, the physicality. There's no pads, right? In hockey, you have pads at least. In football, you have pads. In lacrosse, you have some pads. Zero pad, folk. Even in soccer, you have shin pads. Zero pads. It is skin on skin, body on body, and it is physical. So sprains and strains, approximately 30% of all sports injuries are sprains or strange, making them the most common. That's obviously a significant grade 2, grade 3 sprain of the ankle. These are 4 to 6 week injuries minimum. On the more severe ones, it's 4 to 6 weeks, and it takes an intense amount of rehab and all the proper elevation, the Rice theory, rest, ice, compression, elevation, getting the blood out of that area, which is what actually causes the swelling, and it pools down there to get the ankle back to its normal functioning, and then get it to get strong again and go through it. It's a process, and it is a serious injury, and a lot of times it loosens things in there, and it can happen again. And Luke will talk about that. Kobe Bryant once famously said, I think he said he sprained his ankle basically every other night. I mean, that's just crazy, but it's true, and it can happen, especially at that level. There's information here in concussions, which is obviously very serious, and I'm certified in that. That's a very serious thing. Overuse. This is really what I want to focus on, folks. I believe that the number one thing that we are seeing is the overuse or the overactivity starting at the young years and then going all the way through. Somebody was on X yesterday, and he must have been having something to do with AAU. And Adam Silver, if anybody saw the clip, he came out earlier in the week and said they're looking into why there was so many Achilles injuries, 7 this year, 0 last year, and they affected big name players and in big time moments, which further puts the spotlight on the injury itself. And it's sad to see game 7 of the finals, everything on the line, and Halliburton, tears his Achilles. He talks a lot about it happening at the youth level. And he has said before at the AAU level. And this guy that was, going back and forth with me must have been employed by the AAU or something. He said that, I must be employed by Silver. I must have a burner account of Silver, because I believe it's happening at the youth level. And the over and over and over repetition and abuse on the joints, on the tendons, like an Achilles tendon, and not caring for it properly. But it's just the body's not designed to go through this type of rigorous I like to call it abuse. There's things you can do to train. The body adapts, but when you're talking years and years before that injury ever happened to Tyree, I believe he's 25. Am I about right on that, Luke? Tyrese Halliburton's age 25?
Something like that, 24, 26. Yeah.
Yeah, so
he's young.
It didn't just happen now, folks. This is a
Right.
cumulative effect over the years. It's not just that moment. It isn't even just that calf strain. Now, that calf strain that happened, as those don't heal well, when you go ahead and play, you risk it running right down and snapping. If you remember Kevin Durant, same thing happened a few years ago. You are more susceptible to do that if you have a strained calf area there. He didn't get the proper time to heal. Everything was on the line. He's paid to do this job. If it was in the regular season, they would have sat him out. In this moment, he went for it. Ultimately, that happened. But the overuse, and if you read down there, you'll see overuse injuries. Up to 54% of youth sports injuries are due to overuse, driven by repetitive strain and early sports specializations. These include stress fractures, tendonitis, and injuries like ACL tears, which have increased quite a bit over the past 15 years. So before I continue, well, let me just say that first line. Basketball, over 170,000 children ages 5 to 14 are treated annually for injuries, making it one of the riskiest sports. And I touched on that earlier. Luke, tell our listeners and tell our viewers a little bit about your story from when we were together, and then as you went forward. Specify, if you can. I know you had the knee situation, whether it's ankles, whether it's a shoulder because of football. Go through a few of those, how it happened, what the process was like to heal, when you came back, the fear of it, right? Feeling like you can trust it or not, and how you eventually physically got through it and how you mentally got through it.
Yeah, so I have a lot of I could talk for hours, but one that comes to mind, first one that comes to mind is since we're talking about kids and stuff, uh, just looking back on my summers when I was probably 10 to 14, um, it would be, I would play like regular season baseball, league baseball during the week, and travel every other weekend. And then the weekends that I didn't travel, I was at football camp and I was a quarterback and I was a pitcher. So I'd be pitching all week, then either pitching on the weekends or throwing routes on the weekends. And it's just fun at the time, and you don't realize now I have really bad elbow nerve damage, and my shoulder. I had to get 2 shoulder surgeries, and you think like you don't feel it just catches up to you. You know, you don't. It didn't affect me too bad, um, but yeah, it definitely adds up for sure.
Did you have the same nerve damage as what requires Tommy John surgery?
No,
No.
no.
Okay.
Mine was just I don't know what it was. It was I honestly another thing is I could still play with it. With like it hurt, but I could play, so I wasn't gonna go to the doctor or anything. So I went after I was retired, after I was done playing. So I played through it for all through college, and there would
So
just
was
be a
it a
throw that would my fingers would go numb, and then you can't really grip the ball too well. And yeah, it was a pain, but it was you could play with it. So there was no I wasn't gonna sit out for it.
So you weren't injured. You didn't believe you were injuring, or the trainers or coaches didn't believe you were injuring it further. It was about pain tolerance.
I didn't tell anybody. I just said I
Oh
have a
my
sore
goodness,
elbow, so I would go. The trainers would, I didn't go into detail, but I got treatment on it. Just like I would do my own research. Like what helps? Sorry, I'm outside.
that's okay.
Um, the I would do my own research, say what helps it, and it would say stimulants, like the electrical stim.
Yeah,
So I would go in and tell her that I need that, and
but
hopefully they're not out here long.
you
But
didn't tell them details about numbness and things like that.
no,
What
no.
made you choose to not tell them?
Well,
Honesty, of course. I think
when
I
you
know the reason, but I want the audience to hear it from you.
time off, you don't want to stop. Like you don't want to sit.
Why?
Especially for something. Just because.
What's the reason?
What do you mean? You don't want? I don't want to miss games.
And why?
And especially in high school, you're trying to get scouted and everything, and
Yeah.
it just
And there's
looks
one
bad.
more reason. You don't wanna lose your job to anybody else, right?
That's true. That's true
Okay.
too.
So
And
you
yeah,
withheld you essentially withheld at least a portion of the injury because A,
yeah,
you're competitive, you wanna play, you don't wanna miss. I mean, no one wants to sit on the sidelines if they're a regular contributor, let alone a higher level contributor.
mhm,
Um, you probably didn't wanna be known as weak, right? Because some
right,
people perceive that as weak. I'm tough, I can play through it, right?
right. What I
Okay.
did was I just gave up baseball. I said I can't do both. I can take the pain or whatever for football, but I can't pitch 9 innings or whatever it was, 7 innings. Can't do it.
So where do you believe the injury started? Was it baseball? Was it
I
accumulative? What was it?
I think it was overuse from summers over and over and over. Like I said, travel ball, league ball, and football all in the same summer. And if I was a tight end or didn't pitch, it wouldn't really make a difference. But I was throwing every single day, and then it starts to hurt, right? So then you're going to baseball, and you don't even want to warm up because you have a finite amount of good pitches you can get in. So I'm not. Then you lack warm ups, and same thing goes with people that hurt their knees and stuff. It's like you, you would think that you would want to stretch it more, but you don't want to wear it out. You don't want to like. At least for me, I wouldn't warm up throwing really at all. I would just head out to the mound. I would just do toss and then pitch, which
And
is bad.
what are you feeling in that moment? Just describe what you're feeling in that moment when you don't want to warm up. You are fearful that the arm is just going to kind of go dead, or it's pain you don't want to experience until you quote have to, where the game actually
Right.
starts. Tell us precisely. So people, this is really, really important. And I'm telling you, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people will see this. And so I really want them to hear it from you after the fact. Now you have to go through life feeling this, where in the moment you stood tall, shoulders up, chest out. I'm the man. I'm going on the mound and I'm getting a W. What were you feeling in that moment that you either ignored, or that the specific feeling that you either ignored or just pushed aside and said, I'm going to do this? What was your arm feeling like, or shoulder?
Well, it comes to everybody. Everybody will tell you they know their own body, and it's kind of garbage, honestly, because we all have we all have different pain tolerances and everything like that. And that's what I would say. I would say I only need a couple warm up pitches. I know my body, and what I would be feeling in the moment would be just the adrenaline will take it away, the most of it. So
So
once
is it,
you go ahead.
so is it tightness you're feeling? Is it throb?
Ye-
Is it
It's
like
yeah,
shooting
throb.
pain?
No, it's
Okay.
a throb. It's like an ache, and then it goes down to your hand. And then, so in baseball, you're trying to grip a curveball, or you can't feel your fingers too well. And I've done it. I've thrown pitches like way off because I can't grip it, and I
So
knew it
when you're
was
trying
time.
to snap a curve,
Right.
describe the feeling that goes up or down your arm or shoulder.
Um, so you pretty much, for what I have, you're telling yourself in your head to squeeze it as hard as you can, but you can't tell how hard you're squeezing the ball. So you're like, you check it in your hand, make sure you got a good grip on it, but you can't feel your fingers. So when you rip it off, sometimes it worked, sometimes it was fine, and then sometimes you can't squeeze it too hard. So I would over squeeze it, throw it right in the ground, or throw it, you know, it's just not ideal. And if you really wrench I didn't really feel it, the pain part till after the games,
Okay.
or
And
riding home from practice and stuff. But
what pitch would you feel it most? If you're
fastball,
just throwing it, you'd feel it most on a fastball?
mm, yeah,
So
because
if
I'm
you're
putting everything
snapping,
into it.
okay. So if you're snapping a curve, you're not feeling the same type of uh, throb or shooting pain?
Um, no, well, no, not really. I think it's more the fact I kind of stopped. I stayed away from the curveballs once it started. My fingers started going numb because you can't control it. So if I started wrenching curveballs over and over, I'm sure it'd be the same thing. But I probably just tried to overpower. I just change up the speed of the fastball, throw a change up,
And
and
location, right? That's how you were
yeah,
trying to
yep,
get over it. Did you have a third
right.
pitch? Fastball curve change?
When I was young, that I had a little knuckle curve that I liked because I didn't have to turn over on it. I would just throw it like a fastball, but the way you hold it, it would curve a little bit. Um, but that was about it. I had really good control over where I put the fastball, so I have four seam and two seam too. Two seam
Okay.
bowed out, four seam was flat.
And
So just
when
control.
when you're totally healthy and you have no injury and there's no throb, there's no shooting pain, what would your velocity top out at?
When I was a freshman, um, probably mid to high 80s as a freshman,
Okay.
and I didn't really throw after that. But well, that was with the elbow problem. So I don't know. I never got clocked healthy.
And what do you think it was? If you
I
had
could.
to guess, 90, 91.
I think I could. Yeah, I think I could for sure.
Okay. And then you're in, you said the mid to high 80s when you're not feeling right. So
Yeah,
you're
and
thinking
then it's
maybe something like
different.
3 to 7 off the velocity?
Yeah, and then it's different when um, if you're trying to get clocked and you can throw 10 pitches, and get them clocked. But if I'm coming out to throw a full game, I'm not with elbow problems. I'm not starting to. I'm laying off the first 3 innings probably, and just trying to really dial in on location and pitch selection, see what batters do what, and really try to figure that part out because the arm's not. If you come out humming it, you're not going to last too long.
Right. And
I had
average Go ahead.
Yeah, well, my dad was a coach for me when I was probably 13, and we had a city all-star game, and I was a starting pitcher for it. And we were there. It felt like that for some reason we were playing catch in the outfield for way too long. So I did that, and then I did my little warm-ups on the mound before the game, and it was cool. There was all the festivities and everything. You felt like a little superstar. Um, and walked to the fence, the dugout, and I was like, "Dad, I can't do it. I can't throw." And he's like, "Just get through one inning, you know." And I'm if I said, "Dad, I really can't," he would have let me out. But I was like, I can't do it. And he's like, "Just go through one inning, you'll be all right," you know. I was like, "Okay," and I threw the first pitch, and like it was gone. So I just walked off the field,
And
and
this
we
is
were
at what age?
13, 12 or
Wow.
13.
Okay.
One
And
pitch.
when one pitch?
Well, I had the warm up pitches, but first pitch, because I knew my dad said just go one inning, and I was like, okay, if I'm just going one inning, I can let it rip, and I just let it fly.
And at that
And
age,
then,
12 to 13, do you think that had any impact at the later years in high
yep,
school?
I'll tell you another story. So
Please.
De La Salle had a Meet the Pilots thing that they would bring in kids from elementary schools or middle schools to shadow us for the day, and there was like four of us that would have a kid every week. So um, towards the middle of our football season, it was no, it was playoffs. We were playing Oak Park. We had a big game that Friday night, and I had a kid shadowing me, and he was a big football fan. He was super cool for me to ask for autograph and everything. And you know, you feel like the man, so that's great. And then we went outside. We had our little class off or whatever, so we go outside and play catch. My receiver had a shadow too, so we were just playing catch or whatever. And our big play of the year was just a deep post to him, and I would let it rip 50, 60 yards. We scored on it every game probably. So they're asking to see it. And I was like, all right, go. And I'm like, keep going, you know, just having fun. And I let it go without any warm ups or anything. Arm was gone for the whole rest of the school day and the playoff game that night. In the
Wow.
freezing cold, I had no fingers. Yeah, it was terrible. I was
And you
super
attribute
nervous.
you attribute that to earlier injury, or you attribute it to lack of warming up and it was cold?
I think earlier injury because it was the same feeling. Like as soon as I let it go, I was like, wow, I haven't felt this in a while because I've been really good about taking care of it, and I stopped pitching. And then as soon I was like, why tonight with this game, you know? And luckily for me, it was freezing, so we didn't really throw all that much. I think I threw
Ran the
15
ball?
passes. Yeah, so that was okay. I just ran a lot, but yeah,
So in
I mean,
so in high school, what was your average? First of all, how many games did you guys play a
for
year?
football, right?
No, baseball.
Oh, I don't even
What
know.
the season consist of? 30 games?
Probably something around there. Yeah, I was gonna say 25, 30. Yeah,
And how many games would you say you started?
it would be one every one one every four, probably every fourth game.
So you got about 7 starts for the year?
Yeah, but that doesn't sound right. Um, I think it might be more games than that.
Alright, so 40, 50 games maybe?
Yeah, and then
Let's
yeah, so
let's
probably
go with 40.
12, 15 starts, but you pitch bullpens every other day. On your off days, you're pitching.
12 to 15 starts. What would you
Yeah,
say is the average length of start
probably
in your case?
75 pitches, 70 pitches.
Is there a
Are
limit?
you talking about high school?
Yes.
Okay, I bowed out after my freshman year, so that was they moved me up um, to be a pitcher, and I said no, thank you, can't do
Okay.
it.
Now, these injuries that you speak of, are you aware of other people either in basketball, football, any of the above? Same
Oh
grade
yeah.
level, maybe lower a grade, up a higher a grade, that
Mhm.
experienced a lot of what you did?
Yeah, I have a buddy that he was one of the best players I haven't talked to him in a long time. So if he sees this, but we played together when we were younger, and he was really, really good. He was a good hitter, threw
Justin?
harder than me.
Is it Justin?
Um, no, no, his name was Joey Santini. He was a baller, and I heard he still played D1 ball, but he just played first base and hit, and he couldn't pitch anymore. And I think if he would have been, he was a special, special pitcher. He could throw. And they tried to do the right thing with him. He wasn't allowed to throw curveballs or anything. Um, but just the overuse, when you're that guy, when you're another thing too, when I didn't pitch, I caught. So I'm still throwing it back to the pitcher every pitch. So there's no break. And
So
it's every day, either baseball or football.
when you played for me, how much would you say you withheld as far as soreness, injury, exhaustion, fatigue, all of that?
So when
Or
I
were you
played
just
for you,
pushing through and you weren't really feeling it? Because you played basically the entire game. I might have given you, a minute break type of thing, knowing a
right?
timeout was coming or the half or something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I that was my problem. I didn't withhold really with football or basketball, and I think that if I did, I would have probably had a longer shelf life. But I kind of just went after it, and if I'm out there, I'm playing. There's no reason to.
What I'm saying is, did you withhold that you were feeling pain from me when
Oh,
you played?
feeling pain? I thought you meant taking it easy.
Were you feeling that exhaustion? Were you feeling that shit? Is too much because you were playing baseball and you were playing
Yeah.
football while you played basketball for me, and then training
Mhm.
with me or some other in the gym, in the weight room or whatever,
Right.
with your brother, etc.
Yeah, something all the time. You have. I learned young. There's difference between, and I probably won't tell my kids this, but there's a difference between hurt and injured. Hurt. I think I've been hurt since I was a kid. I don't know. I can't think of a game I played fully healthy. I had, but I never healed properly. I got hurt in football season in seventh, no, in eighth grade. I got hurt my knee, sprained my MCL or something like that. And then I had probably another month of physical therapy, but we had basketball tryouts. So it was
You
put a
couldn't
brace
miss
on and
that.
go play.
Yeah.
You gotta, try out and then whatever, but
So you were always hurt for the most part.
hurt, not
Injured,
injured, yeah. And then
right?
it turns into injuries though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of
And
dumb.
so, everyone has a different interpretation of what that is.
Right.
uh, Injury would be, a sprain,
Mhm.
something considered damaging to tendon. How much of that would you say you had? And it started at a smaller level, it's one or it's a two on a scale of 1 to 10.
Right,
Then it ramps
right.
up and it turns into something more. Then you're pushing through, you're not rehabbing, and it turns into something more long term. How much of the long term stuff and the more damaging stuff, um, tendonitis and things like that, would you
Yeah.
say you faced?
Um, I would say the shoulder's really bad. The shoulder and elbow, this whole right side, and that's definitely just from throwing. Um, but I also think back to when I was a kid, I couldn't go to the beach without throwing 100 rocks into the water and at
That shit
recess and
hurts.
throw in everything. Yeah.
That
So
hurts. You gotta throw it sidearm. I mean, I used to feel
yeah,
that all the time.
yeah. So I was, when I was resting, I was still, like we'll
Doing
still play
something.
catch with my brother. So it's a lot on me, but my shoulders are not good. But besides that, I got some neck trouble from football.
Nerve.
I don't know if it's nerve. I probably got to get it checked out, but just
It's
like
tight.
tight,
Oh,
very tight all the time.
yeah.
Yeah, really stretch it out. It cracks all the time, but that's from getting hit. And
Oh, yeah.
when you get hit in football, no one really, you get wrapped up around the waist and they say, "Oh, good clean tackle" or whatever. But watch the guy hit his head on the ground.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the worst. The worst.
Yeah.
The head hitting the ground is a lot worse than helmets give, shoulder pads give. That ground doesn't give, man. You smack your head on the ground, you're coming up a little dizzy.
Yeah, I had to, and that's a whole nother topic that we're not gonna have time for today. but I was certified at every level. I had to go through intense training, and it is rampant. And
Mhm.
you're right, it doesn't give. And they're making the helmets better. But would you
Yeah, definitely.
do you okay, so it's improved, but the ground is still the ground.
Mhm.
Sports are getting bigger, faster, stronger, more football, let's say, bigger, stronger, faster, more violent. The fields, yeah, you can have the rubberized field turf that is better than some of the old hard surfaces that there used to be. Grass has still a little bit more give to that.
Right.
Even with the improvements in the helmets, you being in one of those helmets, you playing the quarterback position, and I know you like to run the damn ball. So
Mhm.
so you're taking
Yeah.
shots and you're hitting the ground. Tell us and everybody else what that actually feels like. You just said
Oh,
you
man.
end up dizzy. And when I'm obviously twice your age, we used to say bell rung. We used to
Yeah.
say, oh, we got knocked a little bit. That is the brain inside of the fluid, inside of the skull, jarring and hitting the outer. It's moving. It's not supposed to do that.
Mhm.
So what does that feel like? And you just said I got up a little woozy. And how much did you withhold on that? Withhold meaning
Way
you
too
didn't tell
much. Yeah.
anybody.
Way too much. It happens every game. We call it the green room because you just need a second. You hit your head on the ground really hard, and you just kind of see either white or green for like with your eyes open for a second, and you just got to lay there and blink or whatever, and then it comes back, but you're still a little out of it. And we had a thing in high school um, that I would have one of my receivers because it's kind of a long story, but we would run it. I would run and get the play instead of doing the signs because we had some problems with it the first game. So we switched to just doing that. And if I had a play like that where I was out of it, I would bring my running back with me over to the sideline to get the play with me. And I don't think the coaches even knew. I'd just be like, "Come here," and I would just stand there, and not even listen at all.
So he
Jog
can
back,
hear it, or so you can fall on him if you needed to,
so I could just be zoned out for a second and
and let
give
him hear
myself,
the play?
yeah, let him hear it. We'll run it back, and he'll tell me in the huddle, and then I'll tell the team.
How
Just to
much
buy
would
me an
you say
extra 20 seconds.
how much would you say during an average game did you feel this? Let's try to be honest here, because this is important for people around the world to hear this.
Probably twice a game, I'd
Twice a
say.
game. And De La Salle, and folks that are listening, and this is nothing in any way to try to get De La Salle in trouble. This is really every school. De La Salle is one of the most famous schools in Michigan history. It's a major football program, has been for years. Luke was the quarterback of the state championship team. What year was that?
18,
2018.
17, 18. Yep.
17-18 state champions. And you guys in that year played how many games total with playoffs and everything?
Um, 15 or 16.
15 or 16 games. How many days a
Yeah.
week did you practice? Contact practice.
Oh, I was out. I didn't get touched.
Okay.
So I don't know what the O line and running backs did that, but I didn't. Yeah.
And the quarterback always gets the red shirt, right? Because he can't
Mhm.
be touched, or
Yeah.
she, if it's a girl's team.
Right.
And everybody forgets who takes the most hits on every single play.
O
There's two
line.
positions. Well, it's not every single play. Yes, is the O line, is the D line, and then the second most is the running back, right? And it's the
Right.
running
Yeah.
linebacker. It isn't
Yeah.
even the quarterback. So we protect the quarterback because that's
Yeah.
quote the most important position on the
Mhm.
field. But the this is happening every single play on O line, D line, and
Yep.
NFL players at linebacker that get 110, 115, 120 tackles, they get applauded for that, right? And that's
Yep.
that's bus on bus, that's tank on tank. But what people forget is that linebacker, if he doesn't make the tackle, he's going against somebody pulling, and
Right.
it's 80 plays at basically every single play for the most part.
Yeah.
So
100%.
you're saying 15 to 16 games. And as the quarterback, you say basically twice a game.
Yeah,
So
I've
roughly,
had games where it didn't happen, but I've had games where it was 3-4 times. So I would say twice a game.
all right. And of those 30, that's 30 times that you feel like you either had a little bit dizzy, that green effect, that I got my bell rung feeling. How many of those were diagnosed as a concussion? As best you can remember.
None. Probably none.
Zero.
I didn't
Honestly.
spend any time out. I didn't go out.
And that, do you believe that was because of you?
Yeah, 100%.
Because you weren't telling anybody?
Yeah, they'd ask and yeah. I think I had like 3 diagnosed sophomore year, and then
You had
senior
3.
year you're not gonna
You
you
had
only got a
3.
little bit of time.
You had 3 diagnosed concussions as a
Up to
sophomore.
sophomore year. Yeah.
So you're talking grade school, baseball, football, everything leading up to that, or just
Everything leading up to it, I had 3 diagnosed where I had to spend time on the sideline and wear
if you had
sunglasses in school and stuff.
if you had to guess, how many concussions, mild or otherwise, because people say, oh, it's severe, oh, it's mild, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Severe, obviously, severe in anything is more severe than something that's mild, but
Right.
mild is still a concussion. It's still the brain moving in ways that it's not supposed to.
Yeah, it's still not a good thing.
If you had to estimate all of your playing, how many concussions would you diagnose that you had? And that's a tough question. And
I played 17 seasons.
I'm hoping for an honest one. What'd you say?
I played 17 seasons. I would say, if I had to guess, I would say 25, 30.
You played 17 seasons of football?
Mhm.
Tackle football.
Yeah, since I was a kid. Yeah, since
So you're going
puberty or whatever.
4th grade, 5th grade, all the way up?
Yeah, 17 seasons. I started before that. I think 3rd grade was. I skipped flag. I played a year. You're supposed to play 2 or 3, I think. I played 1 half of the season and then got moved up to tackle.
Okay, so give me the number again that you think you had concussed.
I would say 30.
So you believe you had 30 concussions and you had official diagnosis of 3?
Yeah. Yep.
So 10%, simple math, 10% of your concussions, according to your standard, 10% of your concussions were diagnosed and 90% were not.
Correct.
And today, sitting here with me at 25 years old, do you feel any effects of those 30?
Honestly,
at all? Sleeping, dreams, memory, short or long term, recalling, speech, anything?
Nope. I think I'm good. I think I probably got lucky, but I have a hard time with really high pitched noises, like
whistle.
like a whistle or a ring, like like a smoke alarm, that beep beep. If no one else, I'm like, can you guys shut that off, please? Like I'm agitated, but as
So you
far
get
as
agitated with some of those extreme
the noises, yeah,
high pitch
for sure.
sounds. And
Yep.
you attribute that to the concussion, not necessarily. I mean, I don't like them either, and I don't know. Maybe
Right.
I've had one concussion in my life. I don't like them either, but for you, it's amplified. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say it's amplified. It's more of a. It lasts. It doesn't sound like a ring. It's like more. You feel it, kind of. You feel the ringing.
Yeah.
And
Luke, I
yeah,
appreciate it, man. I feel like you were totally honest with everybody here, and you're going to
yeah,
do some. Folks, he didn't know this was coming quite to this degree. He honestly didn't. I put him on the spot, and I did that on purpose, because I want to be a proponent for this. I want to be a voice for this. There's a lot of money in sports, folks, and there's a lot of money at every level, and anybody who tells you differently is full of it. It is the human body is being used as a tool. and that tool is a human, and it has a life. If you want to call it a shelf life, call it whatever you want, but it affects the quality of life. And we hope, and I pray, that Luke will never ever face any long-term disability as it relates to this. But think about this for a moment and try to have perspective. When you go all the way back to the youth and the peewee, like we just did, and I did this very specifically this way so that when I cut up all of this film, all of this tape, and I splice it up and we put it out there, that this resonates with parents as to you understanding the risk that you are taking on for your son or daughter. And please, please do not think that concussions and serious injuries don't impact ladies and girls, because they do. Yes, men are more physical. Yes, there is more violent sports that they interact, but don't think that getting walloped with a volleyball spiked on your head, or something in the basketball with an elbow, or hitting the ground with your head in any way means less because it's a girl. It doesn't. And those who are now following me know that I am taking a very strong stance with women in sports and the biological males playing in women's sports. Everybody knows where I stand on this. I'll say it again. It's a disgrace. It's a disaster, and it will destroy sports at the core, and it will ruin lives. And I'm here telling you what male on male experienced. Can you imagine if it's male on female? And yes, in swimming, you're seeing it. Obviously, the famous Riley Gaines incident with Leah Thomas. That's a non-contact sport, but the male body can just do things that the female body cannot do. That is not my opinion. It's scientifically proven. Anybody who thinks something alternatively to that it's delusion. If we're being honest, and anything in a physical contact sport, whether that be fencing and the gal who went to a knee to object, whether that be boxing in an Olympic boxing match, a male versus a female. This is insanity, folks. It's totally insane. Luke, you're 6'5", 230. Is
Yeah.
that about right? And
Yeah.
when you were playing at your peak performance, you were 6'5", and what was your weight?
220 probably.
Okay, so
Trim 10 pounds.
6'5", 220. Prepared for this, folks. The body and the genetics to be able to withstand something like that at a high level, and he can't do that against a male. No one can.
Right.
And put a female in that. I mean, it's ridiculous, and I don't want to get off the rails too much, but tremendous risk factors here. And in conclusion here, the human body is capable of intense sports through adaptation and training, but it is not designed for the extreme repetitive stresses of modern athletics. Evolutionary trade-offs like flexible joints or a lightweight skeleton aid survival, but become liabilities under relentless athletic demands. Proper training, which we've talked about, recovery, which we talked about, that is lacking, and injury prevention, strength conditioning, technique refinement can and it does bridge the gap, but the risk of injury persists due to inherent biological limits. That means that the body cannot take what Luke just laid out so nicely for us. It cannot take the overuse. It cannot, though you should go and play multiple sports because you're using different muscle groups, and it is scientifically proven that if you play multiple sports versus one sport, you have a better we'll call it, I guess, longevity, or a lesser likelihood to get certain injuries. And there are other reasons why it's important psychologically, and learning from a different coach. There's all of those reasons. But we're talking about Luke, who always strived to play at a high level. He did play at a high level. He was basically, if not the best, one of the two or three best at every level in which he played, and every sport in which he played. So it's all, and I think he alluded to this, it's riding on his shoulders. He feels like he needs to perform. If he steps away, there's those three things we talked about. One, he might be viewed as weak and not strong. Two, he doesn't want to not play because He's one of the most competitive people I know, and he wants to be out there. And then 3 is you don't want to lose your job or your position or role to somebody else because of you being out. That's the trifecta that we all think about, and we don't want to risk it. That's what Tyrese Halliburton went through. That's what Kevin Durant went through, and that's right. That's the highest. These are the elite of the elite athletes. But folks, it's at every level. It's at every sport. In every sport, it's with male, it's with female. It is running rampant. And I wanted to have this segment, which has gone longer than what was planned, but it's so important that we covered it in this range. And then when I cut it up, this information will be invaluable, I believe, and it's real, it's honest. I'm telling you as a former coach, and this is somebody who's 25 years old who grew up in this environment, grew up in a time different than when I did, and he can speak to it, how it's advancing and how it's getting harder. It's more taxing on the mind, the body, the soul, the spirit, everything. Anything else to add on this, Luke?
I would just say when you're talking to parents, you can't, you kind of, your kid's probably not going to be honest with you is what I'm trying to say. And for the reasons that you just laid out, they don't want to not play. And there's got to be a way to explain certain things aren't as important as further down the road. Like, for example, our tryout that I was not cleared for, when I tried out for you, I wasn't cleared to play, but I felt like I was fine. And that probably, you know, affected me later down the line. But worst case, I went that extra 3 weeks, got cleared, didn't try out, so I'm on the B team or whatever. I think after one game, I would be moved back to the A team. Like, things work out the way that they should. So if you need rest, or rehab or anything like that, especially when you're younger, take it.
So Caitlin Clark, as an example, she's considered day to day right now. She just missed her second start or second game, not start, second game due to left groin. That's something you can't mess with, particularly in basketball, because of the type of movement that you're doing. Doesn't matter if you're a male or a female. And if she does not rest that and let that heal, it's going to nag, it's going to continue, and it might just tear. Would you agree?
100%. And
Okay.
it feels small at first. So good for her for taking some time. But then when you there was all that hate, I guess, for the NBA for the load management stuff. But sometimes I don't know. It
Well,
depends. Depends on the person.
I'm actually glad you brought that up. So the load management, and the reason that there's the hate or the objection to it is there wasn't load management in the old days. Those guys played more minutes on average, all right, and the injuries were less. I don't believe it was 82 games then, regular season. It's 82 games now, regular season. That has not changed. At least from the Jordan era forward, that's 82. What has changed is what we're talking about, what the athlete goes through with the more younger generation. So like a Halliburton and the AAU, this stuff didn't exist back then at the same level. There wasn't as much tear on the body at a younger age. And it's not to say that Jordan didn't play in Nike camps and things like that, and just it was his life and everything. I'm not suggesting that, but it was less than on the athlete to perform so much and the exhaustion from one sport in a day. How many times did you go to a sport? Let's close it off with this. How many times did you go to a sport? How many sports would be the most you went to in a single day? Excuse me. Would you go, because there's some bleed over in seasons or in training?
I'm sure there was a couple times I did 3, but that was few and far in between. But I did 2 a lot, especially with summer.
And how much and so that's the sport, and then how much was working out as well, separate from the field or the team, that you either worked out independently or you went in the weight room separate from that on the same day? In other words, the team wasn't there, but you went in and you got a workout.
Yeah, I think I did it as if we didn't lift weights as a team. It was more basketball or football focused, I'd probably lift weights on my own. Or if we just lifted weights, I'd probably go do some field stuff by myself.
So it's
So it
not
was kind of
it's not unrealistic to say, or it's not unfair to say, that there were times that you would play 2 sports in a day, and you would either train on your own, like at home or separately, or in a non-supervised environment, you and a couple of the guys wanted to go get a workout in. So 2 sports and a workout separate from those practice interactions or game interactions in a day. Yes?
yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I
I'll
mean,
tell you this. So this will be the last thing I say, but I was just talking to the girl that I dated in high school, and because there was I'm back home and I had one of my notebooks and planners, and I saw one of my schedules as a random Tuesday, and I told her she was a rock star for dating me through this, but we had 6 a.m. football lift Tuesday and Thursday. So we're lifting heavy, in the weight room, we're slapping each other, smelling salt, intense workout for football before school. Then we had school, and then I had basketball conditioning. So we would run like probably from De La Salle to the Brack and back or something like that. And
and
then a
so
shoot around.
I know the distance, but our listeners, tell them what that distance
Oh,
is. It's a mile. It's a solid
it's a
mile.
mile. Yeah. Yeah. Or we would do this, 2 miles, which would be a square, but whatever. And then we would go back to the gym after, because that conditioning would take 10 minutes or whatever, 15 minutes. And then have an open gym. So we're playing. And that Tuesday, for whatever reason, there was like a football, not a 7-on-7, but like a showcase kind of thing up in Lance Cruz. And that started at 6:30 or something. So I got out of school at 3, did the conditioning, open gym till 5, drove out to Lance Cruz and played football for 6:30 to 8:30. Got home at 10. And
What'd
yeah,
you do?
so that's
What'd you do when you got home? Collapse?
eat.
Or did you stay up? Well, yeah, you ate.
Definitely eat, man. Ate my mom out of house and home, but yeah, I would eat and
You didn't go out and play in the yard, did you?
no. I was in high school, so
No, I know, but you didn't like go like shoot around outside or
not after a day like that. No, you got to ice up and chill out,
so
maybe play some video games or something.
right. So you started the actual physical exertion at 6 a.m. and
Yeah,
the physical exertion stopped at, did you say 8:30?
like 8:30. Yeah,
So you're basically talking about 12 to 14. We'll call it 12 because there's some driving in there, and we're not going to include that. But the physical exertion on your body is somewhere in the neighborhood of 11 to 12 hours on this Tuesday's schedule, as an example. Is that fair?
right. Yep.
I mean, I rest,
Yeah.
folks. I rest, and this was every Tuesday. And what
The football
the
wasn't the 7-on-7 showcase thing was just a one-time thing, but there was stuff like that all the time. So it wasn't weird for it to be like that. But
okay?
most of the time it was, just a workout for football in the morning and then conditioning and practice or open gym after school. But there would be probably once a week, maybe twice a week, there'd be a football thing after that.
So that type of rigorous schedule with school and everything. By the way, when the hell did you do homework? In the car? No
No,
comment.
yeah, no comment. I
How
probably,
many days a
I would
week?
do it at home.
How many days a week would you say were as rigorous as that? Average.
Honestly, average probably once a week and then sometimes twice. But
And the
every
others?
day was, well, the thing was when you have a day like that, you still have tomorrow, you know, and
So
the
it might
next
not
day.
be as
It's not
intense,
like it's not
but
like you have that intense, super intense day, and then tomorrow's a day off. You're still up, and you still have, you know, whether it be 6 a.m. conditioning, the next day is not going to be 6 a.m. conditioning, but it's going to be something after school. It was something every day,
so
but some days just
that 100% exertion, crazy 110, 120% exertion on a Tuesday. The rest of the days in the week would maybe be like at a 70% compared to that. I mean, there's still 100% days,
yeah.
but in terms of intensity.
Yeah.
It's still wearing on
Right.
your
Yeah. No. But
and you're
then that
doing this how
answers
many
your
days
other
a week?
question.
6?
Those days I would probably go shoot around outside or
I
whatever, or
know you
go.
would. I know.
Yeah. That's fun though. That was always fun.
Yeah,
That was
uh-huh. I know. But it's
so yeah.
still that's what this guy defending AAU and telling me I was a plant for Adam Silver. Oh, they're just out there and they're just, shooting around. No, when we played AAU ball, we were going full tilt. You're going up
Yeah,
and
100%.
down, and you're playing AAU, which is generally, at least the year that we played together, AAU, you're playing against equal guys and you want to be better than them. Like
For
we
sure.
didn't have Matt, whoever we had on the team. No, Matt wasn't on that team. You and Blake and some of the other guys, um, uh, Danny, everybody wanted to beat the other guys. You didn't want to lose to the other guys. This was not like
Oh, shoot. Yeah. I
this is
forgot
not like
about that.
this is not like you're playing horse. You
Right.
know, it's
Yeah,
still
no.
it's still hard on the body.
Absolutely.
Danny Tavalieri, I'm talking about, and when he played
Danny.
point guard.
Oh,
And
yeah. Oh
And
my
his
yeah,
dad
yeah.
his dad,
Uh-huh.
later came to me and said, "I have never seen a coach get this much organized structure out of a AAU team.
Yeah.
Usually it's just whatever." I mean, we were playing to win, and you guys wanted to win, and so you're not half-assing it. You're not
Right.
40%ing it. And a
You're
lot of you
there. You're
guys
not
are
gonna.
coming from a game and going to another game. So this is just all it's just all too much. All right. We got to move on here. So let's jump on over to the NBA Finals. You're not a fan of either team, right? Or you are for Indiana
Correct.
and not
I'm
for
not.
OKC? Okay.
I
Well,
don't
in
like
my
either team.
opinion, and in the graphic on the right there that said the best matchup the NBA could have hoped for, they got fresh teams and faces, a huge win for the league. It ended up being exactly that, folks. I know it might not be Luke's favorite. I am a big fan of OKC and the way that they have been built by Sam Presti. I'm on record many times, and not recently. It's been a long period of time. I believe he's one of the greatest general managers in any sport ever. This was the second go round of the finals. Obviously, he had Durant, Westbrook, and Harden, Ibaka, Reggie Jackson, and they came up short. But this was the year, and what they are led by, in my opinion, is what the NBA lacks and it needs. These are high character guys. These are humble guys. These are team guys. And if you want to model somebody, and of course, we don't know what their personal life is and such, but if the young players out there want to model the behavior of an NBA star, it is SGA. Shea, and the way that he conducts himself, obviously his ability speaks for itself, and he's young. He's got a high ceiling, folks. I think he's going to go a lot further than where he is. But you can even watch him at the parade. He's handing the trophy out. He's leaning it over so all the fans can touch it. He's humble. He's well spoken. He's not a me guy. He's a team guy. Jalen Williams is developing into a similar thing. Hartenstein. There's a lot of guys on that team. I'm not sold on Chet Holmgren. I got a lot of issues with him. I had a video that kind of went mini viral about me thinking that he's a lazy player, but really done right, they're set up for years to come. This is not a one and done. You could see there on the right-hand side of the screen, 54 double-digit wins over the year, 68-14 for the season, and then 7 games against Denver. And here's another thing, talk about long seasons. LeBron did it. Jordan did it. Kobe did it. You play that long season, and then year after year after year, you go on long playoff runs. That's
Right.
all those games tacked on that everybody seems to forget, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to happen repetitively for this team. Indiana, much the same. And then we'll get your thoughts, Luke. Indiana, much the same. I'm not a big Tyrese Halliburton guy. I think he's the wrong type of leader, but we'll save that for another day. But they have a lot of contributors on that team, a lot of guys that can do a lot of different things. They're very well coached by Rick Carlisle, former Detroit Piston head coach. They can get, Naismith and Nembhard and Turner and Halliburton and Siakam. They got a lot of guys, and they're going nowhere. Word is Miles Turner's going to re-up. A lot of people didn't think he would re-sign. So they're going to mostly come back intact with the exception of Halliburton, who will miss, if not the entire season, most of the season next year because of the Achilles. He's young. He's got that going for him. So we'll see what happens there. But I thought that this was great. It was, again, 2 young teams went at it, relatively evenly matched. And, a couple of the games could have went either way. And I think it was very fun, a lot of up and down, a lot of athleticism, and a lot of contribution from a lot of guys. So instead of the one guy holding the ball in his hand, for the entire 22 of 24-second shot clock, I thought that was really good. Your thoughts, Luke, removing aside that you're not, that these
Yeah.
are not your favorite
No,
teams?
I can put that aside, but, I think you're right, it's good to see 2 fresh faces in there, and I do think Shea is a good role model, and, it went to 7, as a what can you it was a good finals, I think. I just think it wasn't,
What was
it
it
didn't
missing?
have what's that?
What do you think it was missing?
I think shoot, I'm gonna have to step away for, like, 30 seconds, but, I think it was missing, like we saw what the best players the league has to offer fall earlier. Like, I like Jokic, Anthony Edwards, LeBron, obviously, Curry, like, it just felt like Halliburton, you would rather see, I would have rather saw Anthony Edwards playing for his first one than Halliburton, personally.
All right, go ahead and
Um,
do that real quick, Luke, and
okay, yeah, give me 2
I'm gonna
seconds.
speak on Stephen A. Smith. So folks, normally I start out the show with PB for 3, which is 3 minutes on a hard hitting topic or something that's popular in the sports world. I didn't start it at the beginning. I'm going to hit on it now while Luke had to step away for a moment. Is Stephen A. Smith, and I did a reel yesterday. It went out, and I'll share it with you here. So there's a lot of people that are exhausted by Stephen A. It's not hard to get exhausted by him. He's so loud. He's so obnoxious. He's so boisterous. Many challenge his actual knowledge. I used to love Stephen A. Smith, whatever it was, 15 years ago when he would be a contributor. This is when I watched ESPN. I no longer watch ESPN. It's just awful, awful, awful stuff. It's not even, it's Disney's in the political business now. They're not in the sports or entertainment business anymore. I'll get to that, some other time. But Stephen A is on our screens morning, afternoon, and night. He has his show. They put him on the NBA Finals. They're putting him on all these different things. And there's talk out there about this is because ESPN paid him $100 million and they need to maximize his exposure because of that. Folks, I could not disagree any more. This is not the reason why. Here is what I believe the reason is. Yeah, they want to get anybody you pay that type of money, you want maximum out, but the guy was already maximum. And before I hit him further, I will say that Stephen A worked very hard to get to where he is. People could call him a fake and they can call him whatever he wants, but dude is always on. When you are like that, you have to be on all the time. You're behind a microphone. There's a lot of work that goes into even what I do at a very, very small level. I produce my own show. All of these graphics are made by me. All the reels are made by me. All the scheduling, promoting, all of it is done by me. Obviously, he works with a very, very large group, but that doesn't change the fact that he's constantly behind a microphone. So it's not easy. So credit to where credit it needs to go to Stephen A for that reason. But they are shoving him down our throats in a more obvious manner now, in my opinion, because he is going to run for president of the United States. Disney is fully behind this. They are paying him to do what they want for the network, but they are also doing it to give him the platform so that he can speak to people and accomplish 2 things. One on the sports front, and one, he's trying to get likability in the political sense from America, and he's doing it on his own show. He has admitted as much that he's been approached to run for president. I firmly believe that he is going to run for president, and this is maximum, maximum, maximum exposure campaign leading up until the time where he will have to step away and campaign. So in a way, this is not in a way, this is free marketing for him. It's costing Disney, but they're accomplishing 2 objectives. Is one, to have him talk about sports and try to bring eyeballs, but it is also to give him the platform to get his, what he would consider his centric message, a center type politician. He's trying to appeal to the voters more in the center, not to the right, not to the left, not to get all political. But folks, this is why. Somebody said the other day, aren't there enough basketball people like actual Bob Myers type of guys that they could put on the show? Yes, there's plenty. Oh, they can't put them on because they made cuts and they made layoffs. Bullshit. There's plenty of guys that they can pull, but they're putting him there for this reason, so that he has all the name recognition in the world, so that hopefully this is what I believe that they want, that he can develop more favorability, particularly with the African American, to up the vote tally for what they're doing. Don't be fooled, folks. This is at play as to why he's in this increase, probably 30 to 40% increase of us seeing him. This is why. Do not get that twisted in any other way. All right. So Luke is back with us. Luke, can you hear us okay? I lost your voice now. All right, now we got it. Do a quick test there. Okay, you're back. All right. So NBA Finals went 7 games. I think the league, this is exactly what it needed. And we're going to talk about, and this is Shea that I'm talking about. And Shea is a Canadian and he's a black man, because I will get hit for racist talk about who we're going to talk about here in a few. The guys that Luke mentioned a moment ago, Anthony Edwards, he's one of the faces of the league, another well-spoken guy. He did a stupid gesture up to the crowd and he got fined for it and whatnot. And I don't condone that. And Luke will tell you the way that I conducted stuff is I wanted things more toned down and don't make it about you, make it about the team. And he's always giving credit to somebody else. So there's some good young guys, Anthony Edwards being one of them, Shea being another one. There's more. There's Jokic and there's others. But I think that this Oklahoma City Thunder team and the way that it can be built, the more traditional way, the more build a roster out instead of it just be two stars or maybe 2.5 stars type of thing. This is really, really healthy. So happy for OKC. Anything to close with on that part, Luke?
I would say this is like a front office champion. Like
Well said.
as a fan, if you're looking from a fan perspective, that's what I kind of had to get over. I was looking at it as a fan, and there's guys that you want to see get to that next level. Like I was saying, Anthony Edwards, and there's a few, but looking as like, if you're looking, you're absolutely right. They built it, good for them. And it's, like I said, front office victory.
They're young, they're diverse, they're talented, they're deep, and they're loaded with draft picks. They're not going anywhere.
Right.
And Presti was on the other day and he said they're going to continue to stay patient. When you accumulate that type of pick, that many picks too, you have a two-pronged benefit or advantage there. You could keep them and keep building internally, or if you feel, like I don't believe in runs or windows. I don't believe that teams have windows. If you are run correctly by upper management, there's certain times you're going to be stronger than others, but I don't consider them a window. And the Detroit Lions are a great example. Now that they are run the right way, you're constantly developing, drafting. You're building your team through the draft. You're taking guys and finding guys like Bill Belichick did for so many years, 4th round, 5th round, 6th round. You have a great developmental team. You're constantly streaming guys up. And eventually you can't pay for everybody, so they move on, but it's the next man up mentality. And that's what I think you're going to see with a team like OKC. Trajan Langdon, who we're going to talk about in a moment for the Pistons, is another guy like that. It requires enormous discipline to not just go out and spend. Now, OKC and Indiana for that matter, but OKC specifically is a small market team. So, and they're not going to go crazy over into apron 1 and apron 2 and go into the luxury tax like that. If you look at their balance sheet and you look at their salary cap, they're in a great position, not only for this upcoming year, but for future years. And as they have to re-up guys like Jalen Williams and others, or Holmgren, or whoever it might be, they're in a really good spot to do that. And if they feel like they can't and they need to move on from somebody, it's constantly being backfilled so that they're never going to go down. I won't say never. Not anytime soon are they going to go down in a bottom of the conference type of thing. I'm sure you agree with that.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And then another thing to add, but I know you have your problems with Chet and things. I think everybody does, but he is so young that who knows? He's got the talent, and he seems kind of lazy or whatever.
Well, that's my issue. It's the motor.
Laziness.
Laziness. He's got the skill. He has the skill set.
Absolutely. So who
That's
knows?
not my issue. It's you know, on again, off again, show up, don't show up. He's
Right.
7'1". Sometimes he plays like he's 6'1". You know, the
Right.
smallest guys are outworking him, and part of that is because they're the smallest guys. He believes
Mhm.
it comes easier to him, but he's getting outworked. And I put
Yeah.
out a video pretty strong against him after game 6. And like I was like, I can't even believe what I was seeing, looking at it through a coach's lens, and the things I thought he needed to do to step up in game 7. He did that. But you
Mhm.
can't just do it some of the time. You got to do it all of the time. You're a starter, and now you're a starter on the NBA champions, and now you have
Right.
a bullseye, and everybody's coming for you, and everybody knows you're 7'1" and 200, and they can push you around not just because of your size, but because of your attitude. He doesn't play like he's 7'1". You know, he's got to play like he's 7'1", 240, and somebody, and
Right.
you could probably speak to this real quick, Luke. He, obviously you're 6'5", he's 7'1". There's a difference there.
Mhm.
He's so stretched out like that, but he's
Right.
200 pounds and he's like a string bean.
Yeah.
Why do you believe? Because you know they're trying. You know he's got the best, weight nutrition specialists in the
Yeah.
world. Why a guy like that? Some of it's age, and it has to define and grow over time. But why
Mhm.
does it seem like they can't get more muscle on him now or more girth?
I think it's like you said, it's he's young, that metabolism is if you look at like Giannis had the same problem, I think. He was real skinny and lengthy and awkward and then it just clicks. Like so that's why I said who knows? Because give it a
But
couple years, maybe he could be
Giannis was never string beanie like him. Yeah, he
that's no, yeah,
definitely
you're right.
got muscle and he
But
developed,
he
and some of that comes with age. I can
right.
attest. I mean, I'm just thicker at my
Yeah,
age. So there's that evolution. I
right.
get it. But come on.
Yeah, you
Can't
gotta yeah.
something on the guy?
I don't know, man. I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe they I'm not sure. There's certain maybe they don't see it as a problem.
Oh.
That'd be the only answer because 'cause you're right, they could fix it if they wanted to. They have the resources to do so,
Yeah, they sure do. All right.
so they
So,
should.
Detroit Piston fans, you had a later pick, and actually you had no pick in the first round. This is a second round pick. And I personally believe they may have gotten something here. Chaz Lanier, the second Lanier, many years later coming to Detroit, no relation that I'm aware of. Out of Tennessee, you want to talk about a guy who you know, I don't know, you want to call him a late bloomer, developed later, whatnot. The last 2 years, he's a 5-year, played in college 5 years, 4 for North Florida, 1 for Tennessee. You can see it right there on the screen against the wall. His averages in points, rebounds, and 3-point percentage is silky smooth shooter, 23 years old, 5-year college player, which we don't see that much anymore. 6'4", 200. As I said, smooth shooter, very rhythmic in my opinion,
Mhm,
likely to replace the very expensive Tim Hardaway. Tim did a really nice job this past year, but age is age and money is money, and that's the part of the business side. And so, Cade Cunningham and Luke, you'll weigh in your thoughts here in a moment. But Cade Cunningham needs shooters around him that can dial it up, that can create, come off screens, that can just maneuver to get it. He has limitations as far as defensively. He has limitations as far as assisting the ball. I don't even have the assists up there because they're basically a shade over 1. So that tells you what happens when he gets the ball in his hands. He's
mhm,
looking to score. He's not looking to distribute. Now that'll probably change somewhat at the NBA level, but he was specifically chosen at 37 to come in and score the ball. Cade needs it. The Pistons need it. Yeah, you have Beasley. Yeah, you have a couple of other guys, but from your offensive, from an offensive perspective, on your starting 5 with Osser, with Duran, you don't have what you need, and to
mhm.
score the ball. And now I believe that this really helps them. Take it away, Luke, for Detroit basketball.
Yeah. When you asked me about the pick, I said I didn't like it because I I didn't know why. So I dove back. I asked my roommate. We only watched one Tennessee game this year, and it was the Tennessee versus Houston when Chaz went. He was 2 for 12 from three, and it was like the worst shooting performance from a full team that I've ever seen, and they just kept shooting. And I had Tennessee winning my bracket, so it was a little extra. And I was like, if this dude doesn't stop shooting the ball, man, and I didn't like him, and lost some money on it, so his name kind of rung negative to me when they picked him. But
Sorry
yeah,
about that.
but no, you're good. So I after you said you like it, I was like, well, maybe I missed something. So I went back, watched some highlights and some recaps about his journey or whatever. And yeah, I like him. I like his shot. That was just a bad game I watched, I think, because you can see it right there. 40% from three is pretty good.
Yeah.
So
And that's at
that's
Tennessee, 44 at North Florida. So we'll take it for where he was playing,
right.
attributed to that. But you're playing in the SEC, you're playing in a whole nother level, and you're still basically rounded up.
Yeah.
You're at 40%.
40 is a good, yeah, that's really
Yeah.
good. And I wonder what you don't really see anything much above that from
No, not coming out of
the,
college. No,
no.
he can maybe
So
get that up a few more points, couple more points at the next level.
yeah,
Be interesting to see if he's a liability defensively at this next level is a massive jump. We'll see what
yeah,
happens. One of the great things too that I like about him, and a lot of people might not know this or might not have seen this, and I'm going to put the clip up. That's what I just did there. I had to go off screen for a moment because I didn't have it loaded from earlier. I loaded it yesterday, but I needed to get in a different spot. Is it looks like he comes from an enormous support group, and I'm going to show you that video in a moment. And it literally gave me the chills. And the game of basketball, which is such a pure game in its purest form, it's one of the best games that there is. But there's a lot of entitlement in this world now in society, and we'll talk about that in the final segment. This era that we're in, this me athlete, and I want to pop this up. You should have full sound of this. This is Chaz and his family when he was drafted, and I want you to compare what you see with Chaz and his family versus what you see Ace Bailey and another guy with their girlfriend and dropping F-bombs because of who drafted him. Check this out and tell me if this family and this man is not grateful. I got the freaking chills again. And he
That's
put his
awesome.
hat on straight. I love it. Way to go, Chaz.
Yeah.
So you're looking at a guy who looks like he has tremendous support, probably both parents there, and a lot of loving support. So you're getting a quality guy that you're mixing in with a roster that's young, and he's coming in more mature, right? 5 years in college versus some of the other guys a year, maybe 2 years. So it's another great piece that they're adding to the puzzle. Love what the Pistons are doing. Hometown, obviously. I'm 53 tomorrow. 52 years and 9 months. I lived full-time in Michigan, just relocated to Florida full-time. Actually, it's a little bit more than 3 months ago, February. But I'm so happy for Detroit. This is needed. Somebody said the other day, can we just go get Giannis, or can we just do this or do that? We've been rebuilding for 10 years. No, you really weren't rebuilding. It was the wrong general manager in place. It was probably a collection of the wrong coaches in place. And now I think what we're seeing is OKC. They're not OKC yet. Let me be clear before somebody tears me up, because that's what we do in X land and Facebook land now, is we tear up and dissect every word and letter somebody says. They're not OKC, but they're going down the pathway and building it. Trajan Langdon is considered, and he learned for a while in New Orleans. He's considered one of the brightest young minds, former Duke guy. Not that means everything, but he's doing it the right way. He's not relying on emotion. He's relying on strategy. They have a plan in place. They're going to build it from within. They'll make moves when they can. I looked at their cap numbers. They're in a tremendous spot. They've got a little bit of money to play with. And they're developing assets. And when you develop the assets, sometimes those perform for you, and sometimes they end up getting used as tradable pieces and tradable chips to give to somebody else to get something you need in return. So love what the Pistons are doing. This is a great step in that direction. Would you say? Would you agree with that, Luke?
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of just thought of something too. There's because when you said it's like OKC, they built it, they went the long way. It's kind of we're kind of seeing like the death of a super team. Because when's the last time a three-headed monster won it? It's been a while, right?
Yeah, it's been
I
a
mean,
while, and I think the Lakers are going to try to do that again. I've got a lot of
yeah, it's
videos on
not
my YouTube channel, folks. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. At PB Sports Talk on YouTube, really developing the channel. There's about 250 videos up there. There will be many more. That'll double probably in the next month or so. So a lot of content up there. There's a lot of basketball content. There's a lot about Luka. There's a lot about LeBron. There's a lot about the Lakers, which I think is in complete disarray. Yes, they have just been sold. Yes, it will help them spend more money, but the cap is the cap, and business people are business people, and you don't get into business to spend double what you need to win. That's not how they became private equity firms. That's not how they became successful. They're not just going to throw money at a problem. It's got to be done the right way. And I just don't believe that Luka was the guy. And I don't want to get too far off here. I don't believe Luka was the, hey, follow me type of guy to build your whole entire franchise around. LeBron's leaving soon. Can't be soon enough. Sorry, Luke. But Luka's not your guy to build it around, and just throwing, you're in LA, Showtime, you're in the lights, Hollywood, the movie stars, Jack Nicklaus and all these people at the games. I wouldn't want that. I literally wouldn't want that. You're going to pay this guy $250 million or so, not the max money, at least not yet, super max money. And we'll talk about what Dallas has done here in a minute and how Nico Harrison ends up looking so brilliant because he got rid of what would have been, folks, a super max Luka Doncic at $326 million. Yes, they went to the finals with him and Kyrie. They came up short, got swept 4-0, and then they broomed him. And I cannot tell you, folks, because I'm very active on Twitter. So this is what I do now on Twitter, on YouTube. People were so upset. I hate the Mavericks. I'm burning all my clothes. I'll never support them again. And boy, 4 months later, 5 months later, I wonder what you're saying now. And look at what Luka is going to struggle with when your GM and your coach, JJ Redick, says out loud, we need to get in better condition. Better condition and recondition your team. He was speaking to Luka Doncic. So not only is it maybe the death of a 2-3 star type of team, and by the way, I'm glad you mentioned that. I don't have it up here, but as far as Giannis, I did the math. I looked at the numbers yesterday and I put it up on X. Giannis and Dame are 70% of the initial threshold of the salary cap. You can go above the salary cap up to 171 before you get into the luxury tax. I believe it's off the top of my head 146.9, 147 is your threshold. They are 88 million. I think it's 44 and 44, give or take a little bit. I don't have it in front of me, of the 140. And you have Damian Lillard, who's 34, coming off an Achilles injury. He's done for next year. He'll be 35, I think, in a couple of months, November, I think. And it's like, how'd that work out? Right? So
right.
would you, from your perspective, because you look at it differently than I do at 25 years old, and you're a fan and you were a player, which would you rather see? You want to see three guys with no depth and somebody gets hurt
No.
or something doesn't go well and you're screwed?
Well, it's the same with everything. It goes in waves and it always circles back around. And if you look back to like Jordan, it was Jordan and then his supporting Scottie Pippen. And then all the way to
Rodman,
now, you got like Jokic and then Murray. And then like some good side pieces that aren't too expensive, but
Aaron
they play
Gordon.
defense. Um, they hit big shots here and there, but it's Jokic's team. It was Jordan's team. This is Shea's team, but Jay Williams is good too. Like he's a good supporting. So I think we're circling back to that, and I think it's good. We have our guy. We have Cade. So let's. I mean, we don't need Giannis. Let's get a higher quality second option for sure. And then I like Asar Thompson as like a role player, but a cheaper role player. You know.
Yeah, he's going to
So
really develop too. I think you'll see his game develop.
I like
He's
him.
high action, high energy guy, great transition player. He can really play defensively well. He's limited on the offensive end. Look at his brother. His brother has accelerated a little bit faster in terms of his offensive game, and I think we could see something similar. I think he has the ability to do that in the proper structure, the proper training, coaching, and development around certain guys. I think we'll see that happen. But if you go get a guy like Giannis, who supposedly he's keeping his ears open. We can argue a different day or debate a different day about staying with the same team, which I've always been a fan of. But dude is they're not going to do anything. The Bucks are done. It's over. They have nothing. Lillard, even if he was to come back 3/4 of the way through the year, you're 35 by then. You're coming off an Achilles. What it takes to re-strengthen that and get into game-like condition is off the charts at that age. He has no hope. They'll be lucky if they finish in the top 8, to be honest with you. Giannis is a freak. I get it. But if you're the Pistons and there's people that say, oh, trade for Giannis, it's going to cost you Duren. It's going to cost you Ivy. It's going to cost you multiple first-round picks, which you didn't have one this year. You're going to mortgage the future to do what? It doesn't guarantee you anything. And when you start to limit or negate your depth and your options and something doesn't pan out, somebody gets injured, then what? I mean, you have mid-level exceptions and things like this, but things like that. But let's just even say Giannis to the Lakers with Giannis, Luka, and LeBron and nobody else. And LeBron's 172 years old. So it's like, what are you going to do? So I love what the Pistons are doing. It's like OKC. It's like what the Lions are doing. It's what the Patriots made the Patriot way and did it so well. When most of the guys got to unpayable levels, it was the next man up because they kept on drafting and they had a knack for finding guys 4th, 5th, 6th round, costing even less, coming up the chain a little bit slower, but they were able to do it for so long. That's a winning formula. And I think you might be onto something. I didn't view it that way, Luke, but I think you're right in that we might be seeing some of that. The 3 superstar teams, even though the cap goes up each year, it's very difficult to do.
If you look like at the last, I don't know, 10 years maybe, everyone's been trying to use that formula to get 3 big names, 3 sexy picks or whatever, big names or free agent. And like if you look at the Nets have done it, the Clippers have done it, even the Suns have done it. They tried to do it with Booker, Beal, and KD. It hasn't worked for anybody. It's been that kind of what we're seeing the Pistons do now, which I think is exciting.
Yeah. So you mentioned KD, and real quick on that, Houston, they have a core. They have a core of young players. It's not, let's go get KD. He's 37, about to be. He can still do things, but he doesn't need to come in and be the man. He doesn't need to come in and be the number one. He needs to be able to do what he can do. He's still a top 25 player. He still can get you 25 a night, but he doesn't have to do everything. They've got lots of weapons over there. They're very good at positions, and that move helps them be relevant now, and there's a great chance they're inside the top 4 in the Western Conference, which we could still all agree. I don't think anybody would disagree with this, that the Western Conference is still by far and away the stronger conference between West and East. And so they made themselves stronger, but they've done it responsibly. And he wanted to go there. He made it known that he wanted to go there. That's an exciting franchise. And what they gave up, honestly, it wasn't working. And Dylan Brooks isn't a huge loss. Jabari can do some things over with Phoenix. Jabari Smith or
Jalen Green, right?
Jalen Green. It can do some things, but KD, this is perfect for him. So yeah, I totally agree that maybe we're turning the corner as far as that goes.
Yeah, it's exciting.
All right, so
out time.
Yeah, Luke's been. This is his guy, and I'm with him on this. Is the new
Oh
number
yeah.
one overall draft pick of the Dallas Mavericks. Upper left-hand corner there, you see Nico and Jason Kidd, and boy, how the Knicks feeling. Knicks thought they would fire Tom Thibodeau, and they went after Jason Kidd. Yeah, number one, they didn't give you permission to talk to the guy. Number two, they ended up with the number one pick. You think Jason Kidd wants to go anywhere? No, he
Right. No.
he ain't going nowhere. People said, "Oh, they're still trying back channels. They're still trying to talk to him." You think he's leaving this situation? He's not. He's not leaving this situation. So let me get my thoughts out here real quick. And we have a Jason Kidd video that might surprise some of you if you haven't seen it. You see my quote there on the screen. We might be looking at the most complete basketball player at 18 to enter the NBA that we've ever seen. And there's been Kobe. There was Kevin Garnett. There were other guys that came out of directly out of high school. Obviously, Cooper has 1 year at Duke, folks, but he's still 18 years old. This is crazy. And his game is such, in my opinion, through a former coach's lens, it's going to get better, right? And I always have to qualify this and say, barring any catastrophic injury, he has short-range game, mid-range game, long-range game. He can play in transition. He can go down on the block. He can defend on the ball and off the ball. He has a motor. He has an intensity and tenacity level about him. He wants to be great. And Luke can tell you that his brother quoted this same thing, but his mother, they asked him at the draft, what's the most influential or the most important thing your mom told you over the years? And he said, the best advice my mom ever gave me was, if you're the best player in a gym, find a different one. And I don't think we're going to see this kid come in and settle. I'm the number one draft pick. I have all this money. I have all this fame. I'm the man. I think he's built a certain kind of way where this might be the next Michael Jordan, Kobe. Sorry, Luke, I don't put LeBron in that category. You might see this guy become that. He's more complete. Honestly, this is crazy. He's not the high flyer, and I'm a huge Michael Jordan guy. He's my GOAT. I don't know if anything will ever change that as long as I live. But Michael Jordan had deficiencies when he came out of college. And it's not to say that this is the perfect guy, but he's the most well-rounded guy. Kobe would tell you that he was immature and that he wasn't ready for the NBA game and that he couldn't handle the body and the physicality in the very beginning. And he knew very quickly what he had to do to become that, and he did. And even in his memory, he's probably more popular now than he ever was. And he became the complete player, and it's Jordan 1, it's Kobe 2, in my opinion. But we're now looking at somebody who can't, even Kevin Garnett, when he came out, he had certain limitations to his game. He was very, very skinny. He was very lanky. This kid's coming out like almost a fully developed body. It's an NBA. Would you agree? It's basically an
100%.
NBA body at 18 years old. You don't see that. And the speed, the athleticism, and everything to go with it, power game, transition game, the mental part, the confidence, the tenacity, the competitive nature. You see a couple of the pictures there. One is look at how high he's elevated in the air. Look at his release on the jump shot below that. Bottom left-hand corner, putting the ball on the floor with his left hand. I mean, come on. I mean, I actually have the chills right now because it's kind of, if you went in a lab and you wanted to put all your beakers together and come up with the best type of product and most well-rounded, I think Dallas got him. And I'll never stop believing this. I believe, and then I'll turn it over to you, Luke. I believe that the Dallas Mavericks did not want Luka on their team. I feel like they felt he was undisciplined, that he was lazy, that he wasn't a number one guy. He could be a number one scorer, but being a number one guy, there's number ones and there's number twos, number threes in sports and in business and life. He wasn't that guy. They knew it. He was lazy, undisciplined, and they couldn't build around him. And why give somebody the Supermax money? And they wanted to trade him. And it's just so ironic that they traded him only made him available to the Lakers. Now, why would you do that when it's Anthony Davis, kind of 32 years old, injury prone, on the downside of his career? and Max Christie, why would you do that? I believe that there was something done behind the scenes that we need to get another star in ability, one dimensional, I believe, but get a star, get him to LA. And in exchange for that, if you deal only with LA, we'll get you the number one pick. And there's all the videos out there that say that these picks are in a vault and there's no way to do it. Come on. It's happened in
Yeah.
the past. It happened with LeBron. The percentage chance was so minimal that they would get it. They got it. We'll get you Cooper Flag. And now here you go, Mavericks. Thank you for doing what you did. Take it away, Luke.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's definitely some stuff behind the scenes. Even LeBron says that about him getting drafted to Cleveland. But yeah, everything you just talked about, I'm a huge fan of this kid. You're right. You can't say perfect, but I haven't seen anything like him in my lifetime. I'm a big Duke fan. That's my school. So when he signed or committed, I got the notifications or whatever, number one prospect. So I started following him in high school, and he was ready for the NBA out of high school. He progressed a little bit at Duke, but
yeah,
he's been there. He's got the body, like you said. There's that clip. He gets a rebound, goes coast to coast, dunks on somebody and one. You know what I'm talking about?
yes,
I'll
do.
send it to you if you. Oh my God, it's like he was probably 17 when that happened, and yeah, I don't know, but a big thing for me is he missed the biggest shot of his life. He had a chance to, I don't know if it was tied up or take the lead in the Final Four. And to have all that pressure and all the fame that he had, because who was more talked about? He was probably the most talked about prospect, maybe Zion. But
oh, you mean ever?
Yeah.
In college? I mean, LeBron in high school.
Yeah, in college, someone who, like that the whole nation tuned in to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was watching this kid, and he missed it. And he just looked out, like he didn't react. He was cool, calm. And I was like, wow, dude, that's more impressive than hitting the shot. I think I would have melted. I would have been on the ground and stuff. Like, I can't believe that. But
so when you look at his summary there, 37 games, 19, 2, 7, 5, 4.2, 48% field goal percentage, 3 point. There we go again with a pretty nice number, rounded up 39%. So I think traditional people or traditional thinking for people would say, well, why doesn't that say 25, 26, 27 a game, 26 and 9? Well, he's not what you think he is. Why do you think the average is under 20 there? Do you think it's just because of the talent at Duke and the ball moving around?
There's that. That's part of it. He had that big guy, I don't even know how to pronounce it, Maluak, something like that. He was a stud. And he ate up a lot of points. He was wasn't he top 10 too?
Yeah, I mean,
he had 3 guys go in the top 15, I'm pretty sure. And so there's that, and also
he didn't have to score 25,
he didn't have to score, and you're not going to like this, but it's kind of LeBron-esque when it comes to
dishing.
He's not. Yeah, Jordan was taking the shot, regardless of who was hot, who was guarding him, how he was playing. He's taking the shot. LeBron and Cooper Flag are more, I think, make the right play, make the smart play, give it to the hot hand, and still make an impact, rebounding, playing defense, all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
I think that shows. And 19 as a freshman, still pretty. I mean, that's still pretty good.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's not, but I think that the traditional mindset would say, well, number one pick, you're averaging 19 and 7.5. Like, what is that? I mean, I think you have to look deeper into the why behind it, which I think we just talked about, is he didn't need to jack up all the shots like that. They have a diverse team. If he was playing for a smaller school and he was the only guy, he might have been the best on his team at Duke in his 1 year, but he wasn't the only guy. The guy, but not the only guy. If he's at like a North Florida or something like that, you don't think this guy could score 27, 28 a game? He can.
Yeah,
Without
you can see it. in the tournament when I mean, they blew a lot of people out too. They had a lot of double-digit wins where he was out in the second half or whatever, or just not looking to score as much.
Right.
But when it did come down to it in the tournament, I think he showed up big time,
Yeah. No
and like
question.
he did miss the shot, but he showed up. You know,
I think I think
I
the
enjoyed
sky's
watching
I
it.
think the sky's the limit for him. You know, LeBron said something, and he had to say it because he's always got to say something to justify something. He says that, you know, Cooper is coming into a situation
That's
unlike
what.
myself where
Uh-huh.
he doesn't have to be the man, whereas I did have to be the man. You know, he just can't help himself. But it is true in that
It's true.
he doesn't. But let's make no mistake about it. I'm going to show you the Jason Kidd video here in a moment,
Mhm.
uh, folks, viewers, listeners, as to what he says. Make no mistake, you're the number one pick overall. You're one of the most highly touted people ever out of college. You're the national player of the year. You're the first round draft pick. There's a lot of people that are already calling him the savior. Everybody talks about it, including myself, and it's a little bit different. But in terms of Caitlin Clark to the WNBA, a failing league, 27, 28 years in existence, never turned a profit, not 1 year. Majority of the teams owned by the NBA. Caitlin Clark comes in. She's viewed as the savior. The amount of pressure on that girl, on that lady, is so enormous. Every move she makes. And I put something out. You can check it out, a video on YouTube, and check out my X account at PB Sports Talks, where I talk about specifically one of the most impressive things to me about Caitlin Clark is not just what she does on the court, it's what she does
Mhm.
off the court. Imagine she's already had a documented stalker that went to jail. She can't go anywhere. Now she signed up for this. She has a great life. She's rich. She can help people. She's doing what she loves. It's all of those things. But then there's the whole 8 or 10 bullets that I put up, bullet points that I put up there about what fandom and stardom, how it changes their life. You're under the microscope. You never have another day of privacy. You never ever can be alone ever again. You need security with you all the time. You can't go to a show without just mass chaos. This is what Cooper Flag has to carry with him. Let's not mince words either here. I don't give a shit what color a person is, black, white, green, yellow, Asian. It does not matter to me, honestly. I don't judge it off of anything that way. But he will, the truth is, he will be judged off of his color. There will be a portion of the public that determines his and compares him to the greatest ever. When people talk the greatest ever, I mean, I have Larry Bird. I think it's at number 5 in my top 15. It's 5 or 6. When people argue about who the top 3 players are of all time, the modern people, it's in any order: Jordan, Kobe, LeBron. Those are all African American players. I don't believe that anyone thinks that a person who is white can be in that category past, say, a Larry Bird. There are some other terrific white players that have played over the years, but this man is being spoken as he could be that next guy. So he has all of the number one, all of I went to Duke, all of the fame and fandom, all of the talk, McDonald's All American, Player of the Year. He has all of that. Then he has that component that he's going to carry with him, whether he likes it or not. It's going to follow him all day, every day. The league, I believe, is made up of 75% black players. He's going to be one of 25% that is not, and he's going to be treated as one that is supposed to be the best
Mhm.
eventually, and maybe one of the greatest of all time. So what this man has on his shoulders, and the fact that he can, by the way, and Jason Kidd here in a moment is going to talk about this. This kid can play every position.
Mhm.
He literally can play 1 through 5. Now you can argue that he's better in certain positions than others, but it's not a stretch to say that he can play all 5. You agree with that?
Right. Yeah, I agree totally. He can't play all 5, and, there was something there's 2 things I wanted to add to what you just said, but, with what you were talking about Caitlin Clark, just to go back a little bit, but she's kind of the first too. Like, And someone with that stardom that you're saying Cooper Flag's gonna have to go through that, there's a whole league of guys that go through it that he can talk to, you know?
Yeah.
Who's Caitlin Clark got to go to? She's kind of the first.
That's an awesome point. So there was Cheryl Swoops, Lisa Leslie. These are retired players that were great, but the fandom was never there. You're
Not even
right.
close.
You're right. Current or past. Like Cheryl
Right.
Swoops, great player, Hall of Famer, Lisa Leslie,
Sure.
some of the others, Diana Taurasi, who's near the end here, phenomenal. But you're right. Never the whole league, never you're the savior, never in
Right.
this case you're the great white hope. Larry Bird was called that. And now this is whatever 35 years later or so is going to take on some similar. That's a great point. And she has literally nobody to go to. She's probably spending time talking to the male athletes that way. How do I go? How do I do this? How do I go through this? There's
Right.
somebody.
And it's a whole different kind of thing. Like it's a different type of attention. There's different components to it when you're a female. So, and it
Yeah,
seems like everybody inside the WNBA players are jealous or they don't like her or the cheap shot her. Who has had that before? No one wants to help her.
yeah. I got
And
plenty.
on
I
top
got
of
plenty of
that,
videos out there about that.
on top of all that, she's handling it flawlessly. I think she's killing it in the media, and like she's the first to go through it, and she's doing really well. So I shout out to whoever is her mentor or
Yeah.
something, because she's doing a great job with.
I have a reel out there that says I'm very impressed about what she does on the court, but I might be more impressed as to what she's doing off the court. We only see part of it. We
Absolutely.
don't know the full behind the scenes. But that type of stardom, folks, I've never had it, so I can't say it. But to study it and research it and learn and watch other people do it, last night she's not playing. She's on the bench. There's 4 gals that are in like the second row. These are not players. These are fans. And one girl has a white T-shirt on and had it custom made, and it says, "Who the hell is Caitlin Clark, anyways?" And this is obviously designed to bring attention. It's going to be this create a real moment, TikTok, this and that, and it's literally, I'd say, about 10 to 15 feet from her. It's very close. It's an earshot. She can hear everything that they're saying, and they're at an angle where she's talking. Caitlin's talking to somebody. I don't know if it was a coach or what, but her peripheral vision can see these people. Like, I don't even know how I would react, and I get called names every day, all day, that you can't even believe on social media. But this is 10
Yeah.
feet away, and she's hearing it, and other players are saying it. You could see
Right.
the one gal say, "I don't give a fuck," and
Yeah.
they're happy about it, knocking her around like a pinball. I mean, what
Right.
she's going through is crazy, and honestly, it's like Johnny Manziel did it. I'm not saying that he talks or acts like Johnny Manziel. I think Shedeur Sanders is going to see it. When you go
Mhm.
act like you're the band, you're going to put an additional bullseye in your back. I don't think Cooper's going to do that. I don't think he has the
Right.
personality like that. But by nature, you're number one. Oh, you're the number one pick. Well, I've been around the league 5 years. I'm going to show you what it's like. And
Right.
he's going to get their best shot every game. It's
Mhm.
freaking hard. Really, really hard. And I don't think people who either didn't coach it or didn't play it and were at a high level at wherever it is they played totally understand it.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. But that's what makes great players even greater is that you get everybody's best shot right out of the gate, and you get used to it. You level up pretty quick. It's
Yeah.
either sink or float, sink or swim.
Yeah. So
And he
here's
seems like the kind
Jason
of guy that's
Kidd.
going to swim.
This is a clip from Jason Kidd talking about what he has in his bag of tricks for Cooper Flag. Take a listen to this. Maybe I'll play it twice. He's so soft spoken. I'll get the volume up here in just a moment.
The position. I want to put him at the point guard. I want to make him uncomfortable because I don't look at the position. I want to put him at the point guard. I want to make him uncomfortable and see how he reacts. Being able to run the show, being able to play the 2, play the 3. He's comfortable playing that, but we want to push. And I think he's going to respond in a positive way. It's all right to fail. It's all right to turn the ball over. We've talked about that. just understanding the guys that I've been around that have been young, from Giannis, giving him the ball and he failed, but he wanted to come back and have the ball. So I'm excited about giving him the ball against the Lakers and see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's going to be really interesting to even suggest that a 6'9", I'm not sure of his weight. I want to say about 240, 6'9", 240 can handle like that. And boy, what you want to talk about one of the greatest distributors of the ball in history. I mean, we're looking at him on the screen right here. And while he's 6'4", he's 6'4", 6'5", he's not the height of Cooper. It's like, what better way to learn than from one of the greatest ever to do that? And I think Cooper, like we talked about, his assist game, being a distributor as much as he is a scorer, he already has that going for him. But with a guy like Jason Kidd, a guy like Kyrie Irving, wow. I mean, Kyrie's a scorer first, but this is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I agree. And he did bring up the ball a lot at Duke. I feel like he played all positions at Duke. But yeah, you're right. He's obviously naturally more probably small forward, power forward-ish, but he's athletic like a guard or whatever. But to come into Jason Kidd, you're gonna learn. You can learn it's know about being a point guard pretty quick.
Yeah,
and Kyrie too. Kyrie's been there, done that too.
Yeah, and we got to see how he comes back from that injury. That's pretty severe. It's going to take up quite a bit of the year. Obviously, if he comes back healthy, you wouldn't have any reason to put, unless it's a certain matchup scenario, to put Cooper at the 1. You're going to put Kyrie at the 1. You're going to move him over to the 3 or 4 for sure. They have got a nice roster. They're athletic. They can get up and down. They can play big. I think they can play any type of ball. They can pick your poison. It's a lot like the Lions in football. They can run the ball, smash mouth it down your throat.
Mm-hmm.
They can play aggressive defensively. They can play, coverage game. They can play action. They can just do, it doesn't matter the elements. It doesn't matter the environment. It doesn't matter the opponent. It doesn't matter the strength or weakness to the team. They can adapt and dictate. And I think that the Mavericks are going to be able to dictate a lot and get what they want against teams because they're versatile.
Yeah. They're big too. Who's their other who would be the 4?
Well, you got Gafford, who's really developed, and they just they re-upped him.
Good.
And obviously AD, and then you've got other pieces around the team, like obviously Clay and PJ Washington, Max
PJ, that's what I was thinking. PJ Washington, he could be good. I like him.
Yeah, he's another 6'5" guy, and Max Christie's a nice little slasher, a great bench guy. He's a good guy to have 7-8 coming off the bench. They've got depth there. Jason Kidd he's never he's been fired a couple of times. Coaches are hired to be fired, but what the guy's got the right attitude. He's got the right approach, the right communication style too for this team. He's got veterans who are superstars who have won championships, Kyrie and Anthony Davis. And now you've got a blend of younger guys who need to get there. What's that?
And Clay too.
Sorry. And Clay. So you got a blend of guys that have won it all. You got a blend of guys that are young. And now you have arguably one of the greatest talents ever to come out of college. And you're going to inject him into that. And that part, I will agree with LeBron. So you have variety, right? You have a seasoned coach. You have a team that competed, even though they lost Luka and everything went haywire. They were competing for that 9th spot, 10th spot, or 8th spot, excuse me, in the 9th and 10th game. And so they're not completely depleted of talent. So he's walking into a solid head coach with a team that's pretty solid all the way around, that has veteran components, championship components. And I think Nico Harrison is crazy underrated, but different topic for a different day. It's going to be exciting to watch this team.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I'm not a Mavs fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I do like Cooper Flag.
You will be now.
I like Cooper, man. I like Kyrie too. He's another Duke guy. So yeah, we'll see. I'll be watching.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap it here with this last segment. This is really disappointing to see, and what the polar opposite of what I showed you with Chaz Lanier a little bit earlier. Guy drafted 37, feels blessed to even be drafted. 37 is you're not the top guys like these two guys in the top 8 or whatever. You see two Colin Murray Boyles with his girlfriend there. Looks like her cat died. They're now going to Toronto. He stands up. He says, drops the F-bomb and shakes his head. He was not happy, probably going to Toronto versus some of the other teams, whether it's city, whether it's weather, whether it's playing with, some of the guys that you maybe look up to or played with. He maybe didn't get that. Ace Bailey. Now it's reported he's gonna report to Utah today. I got to be honest, Danny Ainge, who's a brilliant general manager, I'm a little surprised he did this, especially playing, for the Celtics back when it was all about team. Ace Bailey appears to be all about himself. And quite frankly, Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper, I'm still trying to figure out, because I can't. How did that team go 2 top 5 picks, go 15 and 17, not even make the tournament, get invited to go to the NIT, but reject it because it's too good for them? And these two guys led your team. Now, who's responsible for that? Is that coaching? Is that nobody else on the roster? Is it that these two guys are maybe just not as good as everybody thinks? I'll go out on a limb and I'll say this before I turn it over to you, Luke. I don't think Ace Bailey is as good as everybody makes him out to be. And I think he believes he's better than he is. And I think that's what we saw here. And people say there's nothing to do in Utah. And maybe that's the case unless you want to ski. And I'm not sure he wants to ski. All right. But they do have some parts there. They're talking about trading a couple of them. But if he wanted to be the man at a franchise, he might have an opportunity to go for that. And he's playing for an incredible GM, and he's playing for a pretty good head coach. But it's just disappointing to see. I didn't like this stuff on my team. In fact, I despise it. I think it's the ruination of sports. It happens more so in basketball than a lot of sports, particularly hockey. Mm-hmm. You don't see this. And it's unfortunate to see a guy who was a millionaire before he stepped into that seat and in that suit because he was given money up front. He played, NIL and all of that, and multimillionaire. Then he becomes a greater multimillionaire. Supposedly this is all he ever did, all he wants to do, and looks like he's as disappointed as he can possibly be. And that's really unfortunate. It sends a terrible message to our youth. I don't like it. People say, oh, after this moment, it was just a moment, and then he was all smiles. Well, you really can't take away the moment. And I don't think you can take away that moment from a young person who maybe is never going to end up in his spot. But when you don't get what you want, it doesn't mean you stop. Luke?
I agree. And I think the right word you used is entitlement. And like you were saying, you don't see it in other sports, I feel like. And that might be why the NBA, the numbers are down and stuff. But obviously baseball, the draft system is weird. So I don't even know about that. But football, I feel like everyone seems to be, blessed. They attitude of gratitude no matter where they go. Even if they're going to the Browns in the 3rd round, they're happy, And then NBA players seem to think they can pick and choose where they go and say, I don't want to go to this place, or just, I don't know. I don't know where that comes from, especially from somebody that like Ace Bailey that, like you said, didn't even make it to the tournament. That's supposed to be heavy. Like leading your team and making a run in the tournament and putting up numbers and doing all that is supposed to be heavy in the draft. So not even making the tournament and still going top 5 and you're going to be upset. I don't know where that even comes from. I couldn't imagine.
Well, I think it comes, if I'm being honest, I think it comes from the household. And I think it comes from the direction and the guidance. And I want you to look it up later. I want you to look at his agent. The guy who took over or who is advising him and as an agent, it's not AI generated. He's in his car and he's moving his head like this, and he's got all the jewels on, and he's got the watch. You have to see this. This is the guy who was acting as his agent, and he is not certified by the NBA to even be able to do that. So you can look there if you're wondering. I don't know about Colin Murray Boyles, what the whole story is there and why, but I do think it comes from the lack of guidance and leadership in the home. And then you're thrusted with millions of dollars. You feel like you're entitled. You're the king on campus, even if you only spent a year there. you're the man. We talked about that earlier. But if you go to
Right.
school and you're on the the court or the field or the whatever it is, and you're the man, and there's nothing at home that's going to level you out, and the people who you surround yourself with constantly tell you and give you everything it is you want, and then the NBA didn't give you what you wanted, and you ended up in Utah, and you wanted to be someplace else, and you can't have that. I think that this is the response, the typical response that's generated when you have background like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have a question for you though.
Yeah.
On the other end of things, if you're a GM and you're drafting, and
I know where this is.
say a player like this says that he only wants to play for 3 franchises and you're one of them. Personally, I would probably say no, right? Like, who are
If
you?
you were the GM?
Even if you are one of the 3 teams that this kid names, that's still a big turnoff that you think you can play that's not what you want even if you are one of the teams.
Well,
Now,
he did.
for him,
He did actually do that.
right? That's what I'm
He
saying.
named who he was going to work out for and who he wasn't going to work out for.
Yeah.
So you're asking me what I would do if I was the GM?
Yeah, of the team that he was interested in. Like, you're supposed to feel special that he's interested in you. No.
So if I'm the GM, so what you saw in the NFL with Shedeur Sanders and the way he acted, to me, particularly as a quarterback, is a whole nother.
Right.
That's one of 32, and I've talked about that ad nauseum. If I'm the GM, I steer clear of him completely. I don't care what his talent level is. Because what you are seeing is somebody that wants to dictate what it is that they want. It is showing his character or lack thereof, and credibility or lack thereof, and that if I don't get what I want, I'm going to be a problem. And if I don't get what I want, I'm going to hold out. I'm not going to report is what it ended up being. Now it is understood that he's going to go report today, whether he's willingly doing it or not. Danny Ainge, Brian Windhorst came out and said Danny Ainge will not budge. He's not changing his stance. This kid better learn real fast who Danny Ainge is, and he's not having it in any other way. And you are a member of our team, and you're going to report. I said I was surprised about Danny Ainge. I don't take this guy. That the problems are already there because he's telling you who he's going to work out for and who he's not going to work out for. To me, not much more needs to be said. There's plenty of talented guys that were drafted after him that I would do that.
Yeah,
so
100%.
The moment something happens where he doesn't get the last shot, or a certain scheme is not developed to work around him, or he doesn't get the position he wants, or the playing time he wants, or whatever the case may be, he doesn't get what he wants, this is going to rear its ugly head again. He's obviously been surrounded by not the greatest, maybe some, but not all. Again, I encourage everybody, go look at the clip of his agent. Last name is Cooper, I believe. You won't believe what you see. And it will kind of tell you what you're dealing with. So if I'm the GM, if I'm the owner, I do the same thing that the NFL did. I don't care. And look at Shedeur Sanders already. Now, we all make mistakes. Other guys have done it. 96 miles an hour, 101 miles an hour. That's just bad judgment. And if you made the judgment and your team, your entourage allowed you, and you allowed yourself to say, I'm not working out for you. I'm not working out for you. I'll only work out for you and you. That's a decision.
Right.
That's a choice. And that's going to follow him. And I don't think you could just magic erase that away.
I don't think so either. And that's what I thought was interesting, because I don't know who you think that's benefiting. If you're a guy saying, I only want to work out for these 3 teams, what if those 3 teams don't want you? You're screwed. And also, you could take it as a negative, even if you are one of the teams that he wants to work out for.
Well, I think
certainly
he believes he's number one. I really believe that's his mentality. And there's a certain degree where you need to think like that. The most elite of anything, whether it's business, whether it's sports, you need to think and want to be number one, but you're not number one, bud. And, you just said it's heavy on the draft or heavy on the tournament. And you know what? You don't really have a great track record. You might have some individual talent. You might have some skills that are there that can be developed, nurtured, cultivated, and made better. But
Right.
character is as important as the talent. I've laid that out a gazillion times. Sometimes guys are so elite that people ignore it and turn the other way. Dennis Rodman would be one of those people that had a lot of issues, but he possessed skills that basically no one else had. And so teams put up with it. It's not only him. You see other guys do that. But this is just, I mean, when Dennis Rodman was drafted, I think it was 32nd or 34th by the Pistons. I'm testing my memory. It was in the second round, and he was in complete tears, overwhelmed with joy, lifetime dream.
Yeah.
And dude, and I'll give him credit. Ace Bailey's probably worked on his craft for his 18, or whenever he could start bouncing a ball. He's put a lot into it to get to this
Sure.
point. He's obviously skilled, but there's another part that goes with it, and you're less
Whole
effective.
other half.
Yeah, you're less effective if you possess only one half. It's the same
Right.
thing like me. I didn't have all the athletic skill. I had the mentality, the acumen, the teamwork, the leadership. I was a captain. It was all of those things. And I possessed one very, very good skill. And I used the one skill, which was the mental part, to help make up for the lack of the other part. He could go in and be talented, but when things get hard and these guys beat him around, and there's another guy super, super skinny, and they better get some weight on him, it's a whole new league.
Yeah.
It's physical, and they will break him down. And you got to have the mental wherewithal and toughness to be able to withstand that and then overcome it and grow through it.
Yeah, I agree. And if you can't be happy on your draft night, I don't know what's going to make you happy.
Well, he already has millions. So Michael Jordan says it. Charles Barkley says it. A lot of guys have said it. The older guys have said we had to earn it. It wasn't given to us. Shoe
Right.
contracts and all that stuff we talked about at the last show. You had to earn it, so it wasn't already in your hands. It just wasn't allowed. Now you have all the jewels. You have all the money. He already had it a year ago. He already had it probably coming out of high school or in high school. He probably had it, and it's like it's just a different mentality now. It's a different environment, different society. And I guess if you never had it and you finally got it and you could take care of your family on draft night, you're probably going to feel a little bit different than if you already have it and you already have taken care of your family. And now, because you have all that money, you're going to bitch about going to Utah or Toronto.
Yeah. That's the definition of entitlement, pretty much.
Yeah.
You feel
But it
entitled because
is.
you already have it, but
All right, Luke,
no.
that's a wrap. Thanks again for joining us.
Yeah.
Everybody who's watched this, thank you. Actually, the eyeballs are increasing here as we sign off. Many thousands will see this in clips after the fact. Again, thank you for all of your support. You're helping a lifelong dream of mine come true. Subscriber base on YouTube up about 500% over the last month. I'll check the count. Hopefully it's gone up while we're here. If you have not yet, please do so. Go to the YouTube channel at PB Sports Talk. Click that subscribe button. About 250 videos. That'll probably be about probably 600 or so in the next 30 days. Be a lot of different content, a lot of great cuts and angles coming through a coach's lens. We'll do more things like this with Luke. Luke, I'm sure, will be on a future show as we get closer to football season. He has a lot to offer in that respect.
Oh, yeah.
There's other things planned, and looking forward to all of that. So again, thank you, Luke. Thanks for everybody for watching. Have an awesome weekend. And again, like I try to say every single end of every show, hug someone, hold someone, love someone. Life is short. Take care, Luke. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.
All right,
Bye-bye.
Coach. Thank you.
See you, Luke.
Bye.